afternoon, boys and girls. Discuss the relationship about the psychiatry and the internal medicine and the surgery. And this time we will spend 2 hours here talk about another important part in the medicine, that's the substance abuse and the psychoactive medications. And at the beginning, we will spend about 50 minutes to talk about some concepts. And here is the content of this lecture. First, we will spend some time to discuss some very important concept. Then we'll talk about what is the psychoactive substance. And after that, we will focus on the alcoholism, because I think this is very important information or knowledge you should master in your future careers. And in the alcoholism part, we will spend several times to discuss first about the mechanism and then the clinical features of the alcoholism. Then we'll transfer to some laboratory tests, and finally we'll spend several minutes to talk about the treatment about the alcoholism. So this is the contents of our lecture today. And then at the beginning we'll talk about some concept. Concept is the most important thing for you, and we think first I'll give you several key points. What is the psychoactive substance? Do you have any idea? Psychoactive substance. Give me an example. Yeah. What's the difference between alcohol or just a medicine, like the paroxetine or anything? What's the difference in that? What's the difference between alcohol? We use alcohol as an example to show the characteristics of the psychoactive substance.
Based on the power of toxicity.
Yeah, that's one aspect. The psychoactive substance must have some act to the central nervous system. This is the most important thing. Act on the central nervous system. This is one character. And the second character is this substance is come from outside of the body. You know, if the hormone also can act on the central nervous system, right? But we did not call the hormone as a psychoactive substance, because the hormone is built in your own body. It's not come outside. So this is the second point. And the third point for the psychoactive substance, and also it is the most important key point, is that this substance could lead to the tolerance and dependence. It's very important. Tolerance and dependence. We'll talk about what is tolerance and dependence later. But these are three key points. First, it works on the central nervous system. Second, is it comes from outside of the body. And the third is it can, but not always, it can cause dependence and tolerance. So these are three elements. Based on the three elements, we can give you some examples later to show what the psychoactive substance is. This is one concept. Second concept is the hazardous use and the harmful use. What's the difference between these two? They both lead to a repetitive patterns of use of the substance or medication. What's the difference of these two concepts? Here is the most important one. This one is called actual harm, and this one is just a risk. So what's the difference between risk and actual? The risk, if you use this one, if you have the alcohol as a hazardous use, you have the possibilities to cause some damage, but not always. But if it is a harmful use, it will lead to a direct damage. So this is the difference. And the abuse means the whole concept of the hazardous use and the harmful use, which means the abuse is not used in the right way. What is the right way to use the alcohol? Or what's the right use of heroin? We don't have many right uses. Yeah, alcohol can use that to enjoy life or something like that. But if we use it outside this purpose, it will be called the abuse. Clear? Okay, we transfer to several more concepts. When we take the psychoactive substance, first we have the intoxication. The major element of the intoxication is that you take the alcohol or you take the substance, it can lead the direct effect. And only the substance in your body, you experience this kind of damage or you experience this kind of influence. And this kind of influence is the intoxication. But if the substance is eliminated from your body, this effect disappears. In this case, we call it intoxication. And then we transfer to several more concepts. First is the withdrawal symptoms. The withdrawal symptoms is that if we stop use the substance, or if we just cut down the amount of the substance we use, these symptom or signs will come out. In this case, we call it withdrawal symptoms. Third one is the tolerance. I will give you an example. If I drink alcohol, at first I feel very, very good, very, very excited. I just need one bottle or one cup, that's enough. But if I keep on drinking that every day, what will go? Maybe in the future I will need 2 cups to hype me up. And in the future maybe 3 cups or 4 cups. So the amount is keep on going higher and higher. And this case we call it tolerance. If you just drink just 1 cup in the future, you did not feel the same excitement or feel the same joys you have got. So the increase of the amount of the psychoactive substance is called the tolerance. Okay. Then we transfer to the dependence. Dependence, which includes 2 aspects. One is the psychological dependence, and the other is the physical dependence. And we will discuss this later. And you can see, finally we have the residual state. The residual state means it's also a kind of psychological and physical changes. And these changes is after the elimination of the substance from the body. So from these several concepts, you can see this intoxication is happened when you just have had this substance. And the residual state is after you eliminated the substance, you still have some psychological and physical effects. And these 3 withdrawal symptom, tolerance and dependence is after a long time of use, and you can develop a kind of a pattern of physical and psychological changes. So clear about this concept? Yeah, so we'll go further. Dependence is one of the most important concepts of our whole lecture. So we have 3 features, main features of the dependence. First is out of control. Out of control. Out of control is in some degree means we use alcohol at the beginning. We just maybe for joys, for happy, or for anything like that. But with time goes by, we have to do that. We have to drink that, and we could not do anything if we don't have enough alcohol drinking. So this is out of control. Out of control means physically or mentally. So this kind of out of control also leads some behavior changes. The people who suffer from the chronic alcoholism, they will do anything to get the drink. And people who was addicted to the heroin, they will do anything to get the money to buy the heroin. So they change their behavior, they change their personality. And usually, we saw some patient, especially the heroin abuser. Finally, they have the only purpose of their life is to get money to supply for the heroin heroin things. They will do anything you ask them to do. You can ask them to do everything if you can just give them heroin or give them money. So it's kind of behavior changes. This is the second point of the dependence. The third point of the dependence is some biological tolerance, which means if the patient stop use the substance, it has some biological changes. It may be the tolerance, it may be the withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so if any behavior, if any pattern of use of the substance fit for the three elements, we can call it dependence. And dependence can be fit for many things, not only alcohol, not only the heroin, but other things. Here is the examples of the psychoactive substance. All these substance, if we abuse it, it might develop into a dependence, and we can call it psychoactive substance. First one is the most important one is the alcohol, and we will discuss it later in detail. Then the opiates. The third one is some medication used mainly in the psychiatry field, the anxiolytics and the hypnotics, like benzodiazepine, or some other things. I have one patient. He was first diagnosed as depression, but he did not come to see doctors frequently, so he usually buys the medications by himself. But he did not recognize the depressive mood of himself. He just think, oh, I'm just don't have a good sleep. I don't have a good sleep. So he go to the pharmacy directly to buy the diazepams. So finally, the amount of the diazepams he used just keep going. We know that usually we just give 1 tablet or 2 tablets at night. But finally, this patient need 20 tablets a day to make himself have maybe just 2 or 3 hours sleep. This is also a kind of abuse or dependence of the anxiolytics. Then we have several other psychoactive substances like the stimulants, hallucinogens, and the cannabis. And these 3 things is not so common in China, and I think it's not so common in your country too. And we also have some organic solvents like the gas. In some Western countries, people use that in hot the gas or petrol, and they feel very excited. But I did not know why it can cause that, because I think most of my people feel disgusted about the smell of the gas. But maybe some few people, they think that the smell is quite good. And finally, is the most commonly used is cigarette. In the past several decades, people did not think cigarette is a kind of psychoactive substance. We think a cigarette is just a kind of habit, a lifestyle, a life pattern. But if we think about the concept of the tolerance, withdrawal symptom, dependence, and so on, the concepts I gave to you, you can find that sometimes the cigarette can also fit for the concept of the psychoactive substance. Okay. Here I give you some pictures to show the things, but because the night is very bright, so maybe you cannot see very clear about this. This is the chemical name of this one. Anybody know this? No, it's too sophisticated to us. I cannot read it too. But I know it's street name. Street name is ice. And also in Western countries, on the street, they can call it spunk or speed. So if you watch the American videos or UK videos for a long time, you can know it was very popular in some bar or pubs there. They call it spunk or speed or just ice. Know the Chinese character? Herring. Herring is very famous, and it's kind of alkaloid. And in China now, in the area very close to Burma, we have a province named Yunnan, and it's a province. There's a lot of people suffering from the heroin abuse. Yeah. You can see that it's black. So this is the opium. Yeah. So the Chinese people are very famous about that. They know that very good because you know the opium war, and the opium is usually planted in India and transferred to China to sell in China, and all the Chinese people feel ashamed about this one. But now it is very rare because nowadays in the Golden Triangle they plant this one, but they just extracted the active chemicals like heroin from the opiums. We are seldom see the raw things of the opium. And this is a pattern to use the heroin. They make the heroin powder on a very thin metal paper and heat it downstairs like this, and use a pipe to drink. So in Chinese, in the Chinese character, we call it chasing the dragon, because if we hit here and the powder will become the smoke, the white smoke, like a dragon somewhere, and the people with the pipe have to follow that to get every drop of the smokes in his body. Cocaine. Cocaine is derived from some plants. The plants is also, I think the name is coca, but I did not know the relationship because this one and the Coca-Cola. Yeah. Do you know this one? Marijuana. So what do you call in your country? Is it popular? Yeah. So usually they have two names. One is marijuana and the other is cannabis. Cannabis. Yeah. They also have a lot of names, at least 50 names. I checked on the internet for medical dictionary, and I found this one have more than 50 names, different. And in different countries, the abuse of this substance is different. Like in China now, the most popular one is a cigarette and alcohol, then maybe followed by the heroin, I think. The marijuana is very rare in China. But in some other countries, like in Australia, the marijuana is third place. Marijuana is just after the cigarette and alcohol. It is third most popular drugs in the street and in the schools. But in other countries, like in some European countries like Netherlands, the marijuana use is legal. It's not illegal. So this medication, not medication, this substance is a very critical one. Some countries think it's the illegal one, and some countries think it's okay. You can use some for your own self. So in the Netherlands or in the Europe countries, if you take just a bag of marijuana cigarette, maybe less than 20, that's okay. If you can prove that you take that, that's okay. But in other countries, like in China, it is the illegal one. Okay, we give you some examples about the substance use. But what is its relationship to the psychiatric effect? It has two aspects. One is the relationship of the psychoactive medication or substance to the psychiatry. The other is the effect of the psychoactive medication. We will discuss the first part. In the patient, the psychiatric patient, how many of them use this kind of substance? This is a research did in Melbourne, Australia. This researched 130 first episode psychosis patient and asked the regular use of the psychoactive substance, and they have very interesting findings. And we can find about nearly 3/4 of the people they use the alcohol, and nearly half of them use the cigarette, and then followed like marijuana or heroin, and some other substance like the ecstasy or the inhalants that very few people use. So these two are very popular ones, the alcohol and the cigarette. Do you smoke? So in your country, who smokes more, the boys or girls? Girls. So it's different in China now. It's different because in China the boys smoke more than the girls. In some degree, it's a kind of cultural difference. Because in the Chinese schools, the boys usually use a cigarette or use a smoke as a symbol to become mature. If he smokes the cigarette, he feels that, okay, I'm a man now, I'm not a boy anymore, I'm a man. But in other countries, like in Australia or in your countries, usually the women smoke more. I don't know the reason, but the phenomenon is that the people the woman smokes more, but the man is less. But the smoke is different in different countries. For example, in China, you can see the people, if they want to smoke in the public or in the room, they did not ask anybody. They just take it out and smoke. They feel, okay, that's okay. He did not feel any disgusting things. But in Australia, it's different. People usually think, sometimes they think that smoking is not such a good thing. If they really want to smoke, they will go directly outside, not outside the room, outside the building. So you can, if you walk on the street of Australia, you can see a lot of people in the corners, just very close to the garbage or something like that, just shrimps there and smoke in very quick speed, because maybe they don't think the smoke is a very good thing. They just smoke as quick as possible. But in Europe, it's different. And in China have some European style, I think. If they want to smoke, they did not ask your permission. Okay, so maybe it's just a cultural difference. Okay, this is the prevalence in USA about the substance use. The peak of the psychoactive use is between the 18 to 34 years old. So you can say the young people is the most popular people to use this kind of substance. And the categories of the substance they use includes alcohol, opiates, especially the heroin, and some stimulants and others. We can see the distribution of the substance is different in American when we compare the situation here. Like the heroin is very popular in America. And the lifetime prevalence of the substance in USA is about 16.7%, the lifeline, which means nearly 1/7, okay, nearly 1/7. In 7 American people, in their lives, there's 1 people will suffer from the substance dependence, but not the substance is not only one kind of substance. There's a total number of the substance used. And if you just choose alcohol, the rate is still very high, 13.5%. In some degree, some people argued that the prevalence of the alcoholism in one country have some linkage to the cultural or industrialization. Like 20 years ago, before the development of China, 20 years ago, the alcohol use is very low in China. But now, the prevalence of alcoholism is keep on going in the past 20 years. Some people even found some relationship. The increase of the prevalence of the alcoholism in China have some correlations to the prevalence of hypertension and diabetes. But we don't know the reason. But maybe it's just a reflection about the development or the industrialization in the developing countries. So maybe in the future, like in other countries, like in Cambodia or in Vietnam, we can still view this kind of changes about the prevalence of the alcoholism. Okay. Then we transfer to the key point of our lecture, the alcoholism. First, we'll discuss the mechanism of the alcoholism. Then transfer to the clinical features. And the mechanism and the clinical features, especially the clinical features, is the most important points of our whole lecture today. Then we transfer to the laboratory test and just spend maybe a couple of minutes to talk about the treatment of the alcoholism. before the mechanism, we should have some idea of what is the harmful use of the alcohol, because we use it in many cases and in many situations. Like people get married, like people have a celebration, have a party. We drink beers, we drink spirits. But what's the limit? What's the limitation to the normal use and the abuse, to the healthy use and the harmful use? First, I will give you a concept. We call this unit. This unit equals about 8 grams of pure ethanol. Attention, pure one. But we know the drinks, the spirits, not pure ethanol. It just contains some of the ethanols. So it depends on what kind of things you drink. Like 1 unit equals half a pint of beer, like a small glasses of beer, and the wine is about 100 milliliters. And the sherry and the spirits, they're different. So do you know these kind of drinks? Wine, sherry, and spirits. Yeah. So if in China we did not use just one word to say that, we use a combined word. So the wine in Chinese we call it grape wine. Yeah, 葡萄酒. So the ethanol concentration is about 12 to 14%. Yeah. I was graduating in Australia, and Australia is also a very famous place for the wine. So the best wines, the alcohol is higher. It's about 14.5% of alcohol, or of the ethanols. That's the best one in the South Australia. So if we drink sherry is another kind of spirit. But in China we also use 酒, the one character to represent all them. We seldom have sherries in China, but we have a lot of spirits here. Like, 五粮液. You know? In Chinese character, we write it as white wine. Yeah, it's very, very strong. So this one, never forget, this one is just the UK style or the USA style. Their concentration of the ethanol about this one is just 13 to 40%. But in Chinese, so-called white wine, sometimes is 60 or 50. Maybe half of them can be the ethanols. Do you know Premier Joe? Yeah. He loves the Mao-Tai. Mao-Tai is a kind of spirits, Chinese spirit in the Guizhou province. It's very famous. You just drop a bottle and you stick a match, it can burn. It looks like the water, but it drinks like fire. So in that case, the ethanol is more than 50%. So it's very dangerous. So if you drink the Chinese so-called white wine, the 1 unit is less than 30, maybe just 20 or 15. So you must calculate the ethanol assumption of the patient. If the patient complains about the alcohol things, you must do that. You must calculate how many or how much ethanols he really drink for his daily life. And here is the levels. We have 3 levels: the safe level and the dangerous level. And between them is the hazardous level. So we can see men and women are different. It looks like a man can drink more spirits or drink more alcohols than women. Why? Guess why? Is it a kind of discrimination? Not that. Because usually, not always, usually, men have a bigger size of the body than the woman. So this is just usually seen. So if come a very thin man, very small sized man, maybe we will calculate with the woman's character. Also if come a very strong, very big woman, we maybe use this one, the men's style. So this just gives us a hint of how much alcohol drink per week can cause the dangerous, can cause the harm. Yeah. And this is the level for just 1 week. If we want to say, okay, I think this patient is alcoholism or alcohol dependence, not 1 or 2 weeks is not enough. Maybe last for a long time, for example 3 or 4 years. Okay, this just give us some numbers of the levels of alcohol use. Then we transfer to the mechanism of the alcohol use. The first slide shows the ways after we drink a spirits or beer or wine, anything. If we drink, then it was absorbed in the upper GI tract, stomach, duodenal, and so on. But we have some hints here. First is that if you drink the alcohol, are you drinking it directly, or when you drink you have also some dishes? So if you mix the alcohol with some other food, or mixed with other kind of soft drink or waters, the damage to your body will decrease. Okay. Also, it depends on what kind of spirit you use. Like beer, maybe it's safer. Like the burning multi, maybe it's dangerous. Okay. Absorbed in the GI tract, then going to the liver. About 90% were changing into the acido diet in the liver, then become the carbonate dioxide or ethanoic acid. Oh, it's very hard to spell them. Into the liver, and about 10% of them can be excreted from your body by the urinary and the respiratory system. So I think everybody have drink, so you have the experience. If you drink enough beers, the smell of your breath have some special smell, and the smells contain the alcohol. Yeah. And in the normal people, every hour they can metabolic about 7 to 20 milligram of ethanol. The people they usually drink alcohols, this number can go into 25 milliliters. More than that will deposit in the body and come from the outside and directly work in your own body and have this number, alcoholism.
What's the safety for single for one thing? Per week for a single.
Okay. So this comes two things. One is the acute effect of the alcohol. Then comes the chronic effect of the alcohol, right? So later we'll discuss the difference between the acute and the chronic one. This one is just for the chronic one, because acute one, if you drink for one time, everybody has a limitation. But I don't know what your limitation is, because this limitation varies between you and them. Maybe some people can drink a lot for one time. Maybe some people can drink just a couple of wines just for one time. It does not matter. If just a one-time use, if you drink enough, everybody will be going down. Yeah. But that number that fit for the chronic use. We'll use this number in the chronic ones. Okay. So what is the damage of the alcohol to the body? First, the lack of some nutritional elements. Because you must have this experience. If you drink too much, you did not want to eat. Because in some degree, the ethanol can work as an energy source for the people. Yeah? So if you drink too much, you did not want to eat. And if you don't eat enough food, some nutritional elements will disappear. Then the alcohol working in the central nervous system, it can increase the secretion of the ACTH, work on the CNS nerve, and work on the adrenal gland, and the secretion of ACTH will increase. And we know ACTH can have some damage to the human bodies. Okay, we know that alcohol is metabolic in the liver. It has some direct damage to the liver. And in the nervous system, the alcohol can combine with the lecithin and the deposits in the nervous system and cause direct damage to the nerves, not only the peripheral nerves but also the central nerves. And the possible reason for dependence is too sophisticated for us, for the clinical ones. But do you know the MAO? Yeah, monoxide oxidase. Yeah. The alcohol use can decrease the activity of the MAO in the central nervous system and cause some thirsty for the drinks and cause some anxiety and depression. In the depression lectures last time, I think you have some idea that MAO is important in the etiology of the depression and the anxiety. And the second one, the alcohol can change this thing. This is a very sophisticated thing. And this thing can work on the opium receptor in the CNS. And the increase of this thing can occupy the receptor. So they occupy the normal neurotransmitter pathways. It gives some damage and lead to the dependence. And third neurotransmitter involved in the dependence is the GABA. Do you know? GABA is also very important neurotransmitters. So the alcohol can influence the GABA activity and the metabolism in the central nervous system. And the three neurotransmitters, the MAO, the GABA, and this very long one, they finally cause the depression, the dependence of the alcohol in the animal models. And this is a slide to show the physical effects of the excessive use of alcohol in the human body, in the alimentary system, and the neurologic system, and other systems. This is a direct effect of the alcohol use, like can cause the gastritis and the peptic ulcer, can cause the hepatitis, and so on. Yeah. This is another slide to show the use of the alcohol to the neuropsychiatric effect, the neuropsychiatric systems. And if in the intoxication states, can lead the memory blackout and the idiosyncratic intoxication. And during the withdrawal states can lead to the delirium. Yeah. So delirium is the concept I give you in last lectures. What's the characteristics of the delirium? I gave you this concept last time. Delirium. Disorientation, confusion, phobia, hallucination. Remember that? Okay. And toxic and the nutritional states and some associated state like depression, anxiety, and something like that. So instead, in some degree, the alcohol use and the mood disorder like depression and anxiety is a vicious cycle, which means people, if they suffer from the depression and anxiety, they usually seek the alcohol, and alcohol itself can lead to the depression and anxiety. They just work together in a vicious cycle and make people going down. So if we want to treat this kind of patient, we must work both ways. First, treat the alcohol. Then we have to work on the depression or the anxiety states. Okay. After the mechanical part, we come to the clinical features. Clinical features actually involve two major aspects. First is the acute alcoholism, then the chronic alcoholism. Here we will discuss the four stages of the acute alcoholism. after a drink, maybe just a glass of beer or bottle of Malta, anything. After that, we have 4 stages. First stage, after the drink, the blood alcohol concentration going up, going up, going up. When we come to this stage, it gets a mild derepression of the cortex. What is the repression of the cortex? Do you know? Normally, the people have many basic instincts. I want many things, but as a social people, I have to restrict myself. For example, I see a lot of money. My basic instinct is to get the money. I have a good drink or good food. I will not care any other people. The basic instinct, I take it. I see a very beautiful woman. My basic instinct going to date with her. Is right? But the social character give you the repression. Oh, you are a doctor. You must act very gently. Oh, you are a student. You cannot shout in the classroom. So this is the repression. The repression for your cortex. You did not realize that. See, you did not really realize the repression, but actually you really do that. For example, if you sit here, you feel very boring and you feel very sleepy, but you have to make yourself look excited to listen to me, right? Because you have to do that. But if as your will, you will not care about that. You can sleep or like that. This is the repression of your cortex to your activities. But if the alcohol works in your cortex in this stage, you have mild deep repression. Your emotion get elation and become very talkative, very kind. But in this stage, people usually not notice you are different. Saying, okay, this people is very talkative. It's a good friend, because they did not notice. Okay, if you did not stop drink and keep on drinking, what will going on? You can say, what will going on if you keep drinking? When the concentration of the blood alcohol going to this level and going to the second stage, the moderate repression of the cortex. In this period, this is just like a mania syndrome. You know this mania syndrome? I think Dr. Joe or other people give you that. So you are not only talkative, you can behave more. You can go in everywhere and behave very like a very small child and without any limitations. And sometimes become very irritated, easy to be annoyed. So this is a moderate derepression. This is the second stage. If you keep going, the concentration keep going to this 100 and 150 milligrams in 100 milliliters of blood, the severe derepression. Very, very excited. But this excitement is something called incongruent. What is incongruent? Because excitement is some like your manner, your behavior, your actions. And usually this set is fit for your emotion. You feel happy, you act more. But in this degree is incongruent. These people did not have a very good mood, did not have a very good feeling, just have very excited movement or actions. And at this time have some hallucinations and delusions, have some confusions in the conscious state. So when they come together, we call it delirium. So the third stage is a delirium stage. So we can say the first stage is just elated. It's a mild derepression. The second stage is mania syndromes. It's a moderate derepression. And third is severe derepression. It's a kind of delirium, very excited with hallucinations and some bad mood. So can we guess what is the last stage, the fourth stage, if the concentration going on? What the people will look like? You can see. full repression. Full repression. So the concentration is very, very high. So the previous 3 stages, people is very talkative, have got a lot of movement, running here and there, shouting here and there. But at this stage, they finally calm down. Because it's a full repression of the central nervous system functions. The consciousness have some disturbance and have abnormal signs in the nervous system. Some reflection disappeared, and the vital signs, the breath, the heartbeat, can become irregular and sometimes can stop, and can have some epilepsy episode. So this stage is very dangerous. If we cannot stop it, if we cannot make the concentration of the blood alcohol going down, if we cannot treat this thing, the people may go into coma and finally going to die. So these are 4 stages. The 4 stages are also the acute alcoholism. So we have some Chinese characters to show the different stage. At the beginning is we call it 豪言壮语. Do you know? Do you know 豪言壮语? Excited and a very good move. And this is the first stage. Then come to the second and third stage is 胡言乱语, which means the word is incongruent and the hallucination, the delusion come out. And finally, final stage is 不言不语, no words, no more, just sleep there and going into a coma status. So in the Chinese student, they have very good memory about this one because it's very mimic to the patient's status. Okay. The previous fortnight is about symptoms or clinical features of the acute alcoholism, and then we discuss the clinical features about the chronic one. First, we talk about the alcohol dependence and the withdrawal syndromes. The dependence includes 2 aspects. First one is the psychological one, and the second is the physical one. Actually, the physical dependence has a very tight link to the withdrawal syndromes. How to understand it? It is actually the physical dependence comes from the withdrawal syndrome. We know if we stop using alcohol, after a while, the withdrawal syndrome will come out. The people feel not so good, feel upset, feel pain everywhere, and so on. In order to avoid the withdrawal syndromes, in order to avoid the physical disturbance, they have to drink. This drink we call physical dependence. The physical dependence is actually to avoid the discomfort of the body, of the physical one. This is one. The other is the psychological dependence. Psychological dependence is not about the physical one. It's come to the psychological one, which means, people, if they drink alcohol, many people feel very good. After that or during that, feel very good. During that period, they maybe feel not upset, not depressed, or not anxious. So, in order to get these good feelings, they have to drink. So this is the psychological dependence. They want to feel good, have the good feelings, they have to drink. This is the psychological one. So understand these 2, we have an idea about what dependence is. Okay, and dependence is the basic of the whole chronic alcoholism. And we will discuss later after the 10 minutes break. Okay.